kiss for you.
We're checking out Star Wars Outlaws today, and the reason we're doing that is because it was half off on the Epic sale, and I was quite interested and keen on checking a game like this out. Top line of the video is this. This game is quite a bit more simple than you would reasonably think, especially for the hype that was surrounding it, as well as the price tag and everything that went around the game. And it's a pretty simple game. It's small in scope, smaller in scope than even Avatar, and also smaller in scope than what you would expect for a Star Wars game. That works to both its benefit and its drawback. And I ultimately think that the immersion factor of the game and what it goes for in that regard, as well as its characters, pulls a lot of the weight from the elements of the game that are less interesting, let's just say. So ultimately what you're doing in this game, very basically, is you're running around. I guess there's three main sections, right? You're doing main missions that are involving a lot of sneaking around, a lot of pickpocketing, a lot of disabling cameras, opening locks, that kind of thing, to gather some information or kill a guy or unlock a vault, what have you, standard stealth mission-esque things as your main missions, right? You then have sort of, and during that time, you're doing, as I mentioned, those stealth things with some combat as well. Then you're going out into the open world section afterwards and doing a variety of open world convoys and, taking down camps and the various Ubisoft things that you're familiar with to gain experience and stuff like that. And then you have the missions. And these are not main missions. These are sort of like side quests and stuff. And these tend to align with certain factions. So you'll be doing, a side quest to gather some intel for a certain faction, and you'll gather that intel. You'll go to a place on your map, you'll gather the intel, and you have an option, right, frequently to give it to the normal guy you would, or to turn it over to the authorities, right, or some kind of other choice there. And that will affect your faction standing, which then affects what you're allowed to get access to. Certain areas, certain restrictions, aggressiveness, that kind of thing. And those are really the three main points. You're doing the main mission stuff, you're doing the open world, you're doing the side mission faction stuff. And I would say the first two elements are perfectly serviceable. The stealth, the combat, the lockpicking, all that works perfectly fine. There's not really anything to write home about in those sections, other than the fact that this game looks very good. So, there's some nice set pieces and things like that. The open world stuff is a similar thing, pretty standard. Everything's fine, not anything groundbreaking there, but it does look nice. And then the side missions and the faction stuff is really where we get into the unique elements of the game and where I think the game shines, because this is really where you're able to see pretty much all cylinders firing at full force, from the visuals to more specifically the character interactions, the atmosphere, immersion elements, as well as sort of the more unique mission structures. So, obviously, things like immersion are going to be subjective and pretty much impossible to showcase in a compressed, ugly YouTube video, even though I'm trying my best. But that is really where you get that feeling. It is in the environments of the bases you go to and the places you're around in the canteens and talking to the aliens here and how they animate and how they, resemble the aliens and things like that. And that immersion you feel when you're in these segments. It is very Star Wars, but it's also very grungy and very similar to similar to what people wanted from stuff like The Mandalorian and Boba Fett and these more auxiliary options for Star Wars. Is they want something like this, something grittier and grungier and a little bit more spy focused, right? So I think it really nails that. As I mentioned, the faction stuff for those missions, it really works there in terms of a gameplay element. The other gameplay element that I didn't mention yet is how you unlock skills. So similar to, actually, interestingly, the recently released Ghost of Yote, you are finding these masters out in the world. They'll help you train in something, and you'll do a mission for them, and then you'll go back and you'll be able to gather materials to then unlock a certain ability, like a stun grenade or a baton or what have you, right? And so those are very fun because, like in Yote, you're able to kind of find them on your own, figure out what they need, and then gather resources to be able to unlock their training and their stuff. And so that's an element that is funny that I have a reference point, because I didn't really have a reference point before Yote came out, but that is similar to what Yote does. It is, you get to go out, train with these people, figure out new skills and that kind of stuff. And that's very fun because it makes the skills tangible and makes it feel like you're actually working towards them rather than them just being in a random skill tree. So really, that's pretty much the game, right? Like those 3 segments, it's very easy to play, very nice to play, very good to look at, right? And it's a simple game, and I think that's something that a lot of people hope that it isn't. A lot of people hope that these games are massive, sprawling, whatever. I like that it's simple. You're not stressing out about the main missions. You're doing your stealth. You're doing lockpicking stuff. You're exploring the open world at your leisure. It's a very relaxed game. And the side stuff just gives you a lot of nice immersive elements. And those immersive elements are not only are they very good as a tone and as a pacing element, but they're also just very nice and immersive, and they feel good, right? And it's something that oftentimes games, especially AAA games, aren't able to do, is just take a step back and relax. Basically anything from Sony or anything from big publisher is constantly bombastic, throwing shit all the way over, right? Or it feels dead. This game doesn't. This game really does feel alive in what it's doing, and Ubisoft has always done very good at that. Even in their more duller moments, a Ubisoft world never feels lifeless. It may feel boring in terms of what you're doing, but it never feels lifeless, and I think that's really critically important, especially in a game like this that does need to rely more heavily on those elements than any other game would be. So, in terms of a pros and cons list that I typically give on a Just Gems video, let's see. Pros, immersion, visual fidelity works really well. There's a lot of good visual elements, full ray tracing, path tracing support, RTX direct lighting, and some other things you can tweak that make this game look very good. Immersive elements relating to like the factions and stuff like that and what you can do with the factions. The open world size is very nice. Pretty actually open world instead of zone based. It's not that big. I know that's a small thing, but this is not a 120 gigabyte game. This is, I think, 60, 65 gigs, something like that. So it fits on a relatively small amount of space. With it looking well, it is a good amount of content and content variety, all right? Unlike other Ubisoft games, this game does try and give you a good variety of things to do that are relatively fun and interesting throughout the game, and not just all shoveled in one side or the other. Again, the characters are very good. Not necessarily the main character. She's a little bit weaker, but a lot of the other supporting cast are really good, right? Voice acting and stuff is very nice. And so in terms of cons, I would say things like the simplicity of stuff, right, can definitely be a little bit annoying to people. And the, I guess, length. It's not a super long game. It's about 20 hours if you just bum rush the story, and it's about 30 hours if you, take a little bit more time with it. But again, because it's simpler, you're going to be engaging in a lot less of the complexities that you would expect from this kind of game, potentially. So its length and its simplicity may turn people off. I don't say the price does, because price is something that changes frequently, and as I mentioned, I got the game for half off, so it's not necessarily a factor. But it's the simplicity and it's the length. It's the fact that you may not like a simple stealth action game with some open world elements that last 20 to 30 hours. But to me, that's absolutely something that I enjoyed doing and playing, and I think it's something that you should absolutely be checking out, especially as these games go on sale more frequently, right? This is not something to pass up, and I think that the fact that people are passing it up is really a shame. Also, because frequently, this game did not launch in the best state, had some bugs, some technical issues that they've pretty much ironed out. They've also fixed a lot of the things that annoyed people originally, like forced stealth and stuff like that. So any review you may see of the game that was on launch or near launch is pretty irrelevant, because it's going to complain about things like forced stealth that's no longer in the game, or graphical issues that are no longer a problem, right? So they really took care to fix the game and improve it in ways that is really commendable, and I think hopefully this video is able to get out to enough people that are interested in checking out the game for what it actually is now versus what it was 2 years ago or so. So hopefully that was interesting, and you check it out if you are interested in any of that stuff. It's on pretty much all the platforms, including Steam, so you don't have to go through the Ubi launcher if you don't want to. It's also on Epic Games, where I bought it, and all that. Works pretty well, no issues there, no activation problems, anything like that. So overall, I had a very positive experience with the game, and I think you would too if you gave it the chance. If you want to see more Just Gems style videos like this on the channel, make sure to like, subscribe, do all that, and I'll see everyone in the next video.